All right, everybody. Well, welcome back, man. I cannot believe it, but it is yet another Mission Roll Call Town Hall. As you guys know, I'm gonna be your host today, Ray Whitaker. I'm actually here by myself today. So the hope is that we don't do anything we're not supposed to and get in trouble. Jim Whaley, our CEO, is with Mike Desmond right now from our team up in DC. They're meeting with the VA, so we gave them the day off. That way they could do the important work for you guys and gals that are out there for the veterans and everything that you've done for us. So we're looking forward to today and just have an opportunity to talk to you guys. Quick agenda. Guys know that I love to go over agendas to make sure everybody kind of knows what's going to be happening today. We do have a special guest that's going to be joining us today. I'm going to introduce him a little bit later in the conversation, but his name's Mike Merzke. You guys have probably already seen the social postings and some of the other stuff about him coming on today. Super excited to chat with him. He's a long friend of mine, so I can't wait to have a conversation. Our monthly survey is live right now. So you guys know every time that we come on these things and we talk to you guys, we ask you guys, do us a favor, please go take the survey, right? So we'll make sure we put the links, whatever platform you're currently watching this on right now, go in. This one's probably one of our shortest ones. This should only take you guys probably 15 to 20 seconds, jump in there. Well, maybe a little longer, less than a minute for you guys to answer it. This one's kind of focused on short survey about what you believe actually helps you stay connected, stable, and grounded after service. So it's a little bit about that transition afterwards and kind of how things go for you. So very beneficial for us. We like to throw up these softballs for you guys. That way you guys can just knock them out of the park. Do us a favor too. Share with friends. Share with family members, for other veterans that you know. We want to continue to grow these things and make these things better. Our next monthly town hall is going to be on June 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically the same time as this, but it'll be on the 24th. During this town hall, if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, you learned something, you guys post in the comments, right? Like, this is live. I like reading comments and saying good morning to you and hello and all that. So you guys let us know if you have anything. Today's gonna be a really cool town hall for me personally, because we get to talk about HBOT, and there's a lot here to learn about. Hey, Carly, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So there's a lot that we want to talk about and just have a conversation about. So we hope that you guys come out of this with, a little bit better of an understanding from somebody who lives in that area, has used it, and all of that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about our 2026 limited edition t-shirts. We actually just pushed these out. You guys can see right above me right here. You guys go to the QR code. There's actually, every year we try to do a different design. This year we passed it off one of our teammates and asked them, hey, what would you like to see this year? We loved what he came back with. Basically, what he came back with was this idea of a shirt that says "Still Here" and then one that says "You Matter." The one that says "Still Here" is really focused on the veterans that want to talk about the struggle that they've had, right? We all have struggles. So the front of that shirt with a dog tag means that you're still here, you're still moving forward, you're still doing your part. For the other side, you have those that say "You Matter." So maybe you're a family member, you're a friend, you have somebody that you see struggles, but you're there for them and you want them to know that they matter. That shirt's for you. The interesting part of this shirt, though, is really the back of it. I know Nate was just showing it a second ago. It's the thumbprint. One of the things that we think about with, the things that veterans live with, it has become their identity now. And what's your identity as a human? Well, it's a fingerprint, right? So in this case, we have a fingerprint on the back of the shirt etched inside of this, the back here. You can see it. It's kind of hard to kind of make out here, but there's an actual kind of saying that's inside of it that's kind of included. So we're very stoked about this shirt. It has a lot of meaning for our team. We see a lot of the information from you guys, your feedback, and of course we've lost friends, unfortunately, to suicide and many other things. So we really are proud of this shirt. We hope you guys consider taking a few minutes to go right there, get yourself one, get one for a family member. Mark, going to buy one now. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much for being here too. LinkedIn user. No idea who you are because you're anonymous, but you know what? Welcome. We're glad to have you here. Roger, good to see you. Valerie, good to see you as well. Okay. So that's our t-shirts. All right. Operation recap. Last month, there's a lot of stuff that happened. Like I started writing it all down and I was like, man, I really just want to get to the conversation with Mike. So I actually went ahead and trimmed this down a little bit. But here's the big thing for last month. We had a great month last month telling your story based off the surveys that you guys are sending into us. So thank you for allowing us to do that. Jim Whaley had multiple appearances last month on media. And a lot of that was just talking about veterans in general. And then, of course, the survey stuff that you had. A lot of really interesting things were happening last month with various areas. So that was good. Our last survey results were released associated with the Briley-Edmondson Act. So you guys came on strong. We have now delivered that. We've got an article out and everything else. So appreciate you guys doing that. And then the final thing, Mike Desmond, of course, Mission Roll Call Strategic Director of Government Affairs and Advocacy. You guys talk about him a lot. Like, he's the guy that's making things happen for all of us. Testified to the House of Veteran Affairs Committee about your voices through the surveys on various topics. Right. So it was a great testimony by him. We can share that with you guys. You also can find it on the website. You guys can go and listen and just hear kind of what Mike talked about. All right, let's talk about the honor wall. We talk about this every time. Like, look, we all know somebody that we want to, thank for their service. That's what the honor wall is meant to be. It's really meant to be something like that. And you can go right here. We can also post up a link for you guys. But you can see here, it's a great opportunity to go add somebody that had an impact for you. Did you have a squad leader that used to smoke you a little bit too much and you just want to thank them for giving you, huge biceps? Well, here's your opportunity, right? Do you have somebody that you appreciate for the leadership, or a service member, or somebody that you had an opportunity to mentor and coach? This is an opportunity to go in and to do that. It's a great wall. We like to take these as we go through the year. Well, we look at Veterans Day as every day, because what we do every single day is think about you guys and your families. So we really want this thing to continue to blow out, have as many veterans on here as possible. That way we can continue to tell your stories and see the amazing things that almost all of us have done through our service. Okay, and then the last part before we get to the meat of what this thing's going to become is our MPO symposium. So we came last time, we talked we're going to have the MPO symposiums. What we promised you is that we were going to do right by you, and we were going to have all the dates kind of laid out and all that. You guys can go, again, up here to the QR code. Well, now it's above me. So if you go to this link or go to the page, if you know a nonprofit, or you're part of a nonprofit, or you're part of a VSO, right? Because nonprofits support veterans also and their families. We want you guys to consider coming and hanging out with us. Okay. This page is going to change a little bit. Our team's working on that, but down here in the bottom, you can see where we're going to be. We're about to be going to Pennsylvania in July. We've got Virginia coming up in August. In September, we'll be in Texas. We'll be in Georgia in October, and then we're going to be in California in November. Okay. And the whole idea with these things, we really, really want to be focused on is connecting, collaborating, and strengthening our community that supports veterans. We had a great one in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It was phenomenal. Had an opportunity to work with the Woodpeckers to make that thing happen, baseball team. And it was phenomenal. And we can't wait to do the next one. We're also going to be working with some other organizations that you guys will see when the webpage is updated. So there's a lot coming to that, and we cannot wait. All right, let's get to the special guest. Look, as I mentioned earlier, today is really about an educational thing. We got the administrative stuff out of the way so we can get to the meat of what we really want to talk about today. So I feel privileged and honored to have Mike Merzke come in. Me and Mike actually served together. I've known him for a very long time. He is a friend. That's the primary reason that, I wanted him to come on. But the other reasons is because he is an advocate for veterans. He's an avid supporter. I see him consistently doing things here locally in the North Carolina area, trying to support veterans. He's an amazing father for his kids. And more importantly, we had an opportunity to sit down with Mike and just talk about him, and the way that Mike is, that immediately started going into not just about him, but also about his son, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. And the title of that article is something to think about. It's "The Work Is Not Over." I mean, that defines Mr. Merzke, and the way that I know him is he doesn't give up, and he's consistently kind of moving forward. So I want to welcome him here today. We're very thankful that Mike's in our corner supporting veterans, and I look forward to this great conversation. So Mike, welcome, man.
Well, thanks for having me, Ray. It's great to see you again. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to jump on here.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun, man. We got a lot to talk about. That's for sure. But before we get to the big conversation, which is about HBOT and probably some other things, man, talk me through, so I know where you're at. I know what you're doing right now, but help the folks that are listening and watching. What are you doing right now in life? Kind of what do you do every day? Where do you hang your hat? Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, so always busy. I've got, my son Colin, he actually turned 6 on Friday. So, he keeps me busy, with medical appointments. He has, for those that don't know, he has cerebral palsy. So, um, right after this, I'll be running to pick him up for school. And I was warned to make sure I'm not late. So if I jet, that's where I'm heading to go pick him up from school. But, currently work as the chief of staff for Extavita.
Nice.
And, we're going to talk about HBOT. And that's actually what kind of led me to make a career change and why I now work for a company that's trying to bring access and open access to hyperbarics to everyone and really make it accessible. And then, still do a lot of stuff in the nonprofit space, both for the HBOT for Heroes nonprofit that provides hyperbaric oxygen therapy for veterans with PTSD and TBI at no cost to the veteran. And then also here locally, I'm on the leadership team and board for Raleigh Veteran Connect, professional networking group for veteran, and there's probably some other stuff in there I sprinkle in as well too. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's interesting because you and I both served inside of special operations community and normal Army, and everybody does basically. But I remember after I left service, I'm off and I'm kind of running, and then you get because there's a couple that you see just kind of popping up on your radar, right? Be like, hey, this is happening. And I do remember the Veteran Connect here in North Carolina. I remember talking to them. I don't know. It had to have been a decade ago, right? It was right when I was leaving service, and then seeing you get involved. In my mind, I was like, man, what a coincidence to see the transition. Very similar, not just for me and you, but a lot of guys that I see go. It's that will and that want to come back into supporting those around them, because ultimately, that's what we did inside of the military. So yeah. And I know there's a lot of other things that you're doing as well. Well, today we want to talk a little bit about HBOT, Mike. I want to treat this conversation, man. I was open to you at the start. We're probably not going to stay on script, so I apologize for that. But I know enough to almost be dangerous, but it's not something that I've done. It's probably not something that the folks that are here that are listening right now have done. They've read articles, they've read goods and bads about it and all of that. The kind of interesting part with you is hey, man, we're not here to sell anybody on HBOT today. We're just here to inform you a little bit, educate you. Luckily we have you in the room, because not only have you taken part in that, but obviously with the organizations you work with. So here's a hard one right off the bat. What is HBOT and how does it work?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So, HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And some people have heard, the people that have heard about it, most of them, in reference to the bends, a diver, ascends too fast after, being down whatever depth, and hydrogen builds up in your blood. I don't know, science, bunch of stuff. Basically, they have to put you in a chamber, get you back down to the pressure, and then slowly bring you back up so, that nitrogen can kind of come out of your bloodstream. And that's usually what it is. So it is Henry's Law. So this is, we'll go high school science class. Henry's Law.
Oh, yeah. You like that?
It's the infusion of a gas into a liquid under pressure. So liquid, your blood, gas, oxygen, and under pressure in a chamber that creates that pressure and environment. And so right now, healthy respiratory system, we're breathing 21% oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
We breathe, our lungs then, send that oxygen into our bloodstreams. Red blood cells deliver throughout our body. Everyone's happy. In HBOT, under pressure, it's infusing that oxygen. So regardless of whether you're just in a pressurized environment where you're breathing, again, just air at 21, or you're receiving medical grade oxygen up to 100%, now that oxygen is being infused down into your plasma. So now, instead of just your red blood cells delivering oxygen wherever your body needs it, your entire blood is down to the plasma now carrying oxygen. So it's hyperoxygenates basically your blood. And there's a lot of other scientific stuff going in the body on that, as far as I mean, it's actually influencing different genes. It's upregulating your anti-inflammatory genes, downregulating your inflammatory genes. They've clinically proven that after 20 treatments, there is an 800% increase in stem cell activation. So yeah, no crazy trips to Costa Rica to get stem cell activation. This activates your own stem cells. And then probably the two big things you'll hear also that happens is angiogenesis and neurogenesis. So angiogenesis, the formation of new blood cells, and then neurogenesis, the formation of new neural pathways. So really, in essence, it's the world's greatest anti-inflammatory, and it's really just superpowering. I mean, because it also creates cellular energy. There's an increase in ATP, which I had to Google, and I probably couldn't tell you what ATP was right now.
Is that like a security term? Are we talking security right now? What is that?
So all of that's going on regardless. Again, back to Henry's Law, it's so simple that, and there's different protocols. You'll hear, mild hyperbarics, there's different types of chambers, and we can talk and we can go into detail, all that stuff. But in essence, that's what it is.
Okay. And I love, like I told you, Mike, I promise you we would not stay on task. So we're not staying on task. We already got some good questions coming in. So let me apologize.
Yep.
So first and foremost, Heather comes right off the top rope and says, hey, when will the VA cover HBOT treatment for migraines and headaches? This one we want to kind of overarching, because I know both us and you guys are focused on this right now, right? Like we had some stuff that we've been focused on, but I'd love you just to kind of give a, like, hey, what are we doing right now to show that this is something that's important?
Yeah, and there's across the country a lot of work being done on this. I was just out in Iowa for 3 weeks for a intensive program for my son, and had a chance to sit down with some volunteers there who are trying to get some legislation passed in Iowa to kind of push HBOT for veterans. So a lot of states, I think there's 14 states now that have passed some form of legislation. Some of those states have actually provided funding. That's something here in North Carolina that we're working. We have a House bill that's been introduced for this short session, and a companion Senate bill, requesting additional funding. And then, and at the federal level, there's multiple things going on. There's some legislation going on that we're trying to push to really get the VA to start doing it now. I mean, so hopefully if some of those legislations will pass, we'll be able to start some pilot programs at some of the VA locations and start treating veterans right now. There is hundreds of years. Well, there's at least 100 years of evidence on the effectiveness of hyperbarics. So we've definitely got enough clinical research done. You go to PubMed, there's over 5,000 studies there. So
yeah, and I would say the other thing too is obviously the bill was just passed here recently for secondary treatments and stuff like that. I mean, again, that opens up that's not to immediately jump into it. That's to allow us to start the process to look at other means to make sure veterans are getting taken care of. Heather, the biggest thing for you guys, this is why we do the surveys and why you have these organizations out there. The best way to get anybody to move in a direction is through your voice, right? So the more veterans that we have that are knocking on the door saying, hey, we want to talk about this, we want to do this, the more interest that there's just going to be in general. So it's good to have organizations, Mike, like yours, and then others that are focused on that. We also got Nathan here. He says, so this is a great question. This is the most scientific question that you could probably ask. I think I probably wrote this, by the way. So you just sit in a tube and it helps what exactly? I think that's a great way to, because this is that question that I wrote first. Yeah.
So to the tube. So there's different type of chambers. So there's down on the mild end, there's soft chambers. That's kind of a large bag you sit in, pressurizes. Those can't go as high a pressure, and that's kind of considered the mild hyperbarics. And then on the higher pressure chambers, you got, and a lot of people see that the tube they're talking about is a monoplace chamber. It's an acrylic tube. A lot of your wound care centers use those. I don't know if that would be my preference. And we've had a lot of veterans that have come to us saying, that they didn't like that, just, claustrophobia and stuff like that.
Right.
But that's one thing, one mechanism is to have kind of the tubes. And then there's the multi-place chamber, and those go anywhere from 2 to probably 14 seats, depending on the size of the monoplace chamber. So, and those are more, you're sitting, it's almost like an airplane. So I guess it's a larger tube. So I guess it still falls under the tube category, but it's like an airplane fuselage with, seating in there, and you get pressurized. And so, what it does, I just talked about how it all the different things, even at the gene level it's influencing, and it's insane the amount of things that hyperbarics influences. So my own, well, I didn't even dig into hyperbarics for myself. I was trying to find other therapies that I could provide for my son with cerebral palsy. I saw what the kind of the standard treatment protocol, PT, OT, speech, feeding, and there's some great practitioners out there, but it just, I don't know. As a father, I just couldn't sit there and, accept that this was it.
Yeah.
And had been constantly hearing about hyperbarics, but every time we talk to doctors, and I swear, and I'm that almost every doctor I've asked, when you ask them about hyperbarics, it's like in medical school, they get this cue card that says, if anyone asks about this, say this. Well, the studies are inconclusive.
Yeah.
When in reality, they're not. And so I previously was on the board of directors for the Brain Injury Association in North Carolina. And we had a guest speaker at our gala a few years ago. His name was Edgy Girolamo. And funny thing is he's my boss now. But at the time, he was our guest speaker, and he was talking about hyperbarics and the work they had been doing, in treating veterans with hyperbarics. So when he got off the stage, obviously I ran over, grabbed him, and started asking him about, hey, is this something that could help my son? He shared some resources to do some research on my own to be able to educate myself. And then he was like, hey, Extavita Clinic in Raleigh. He's like, get your son, get there. But then he kind of stopped me and he was like, wait a minute. He's like, didn't you say you were a veteran? I was like, yeah. He's like, and then he shared a program we have here in North Carolina, HBOT for Heroes, that I had mentioned earlier. And he was like, you probably need to look into it yourself. And that was just something I've never, I spent, 2003, I got blown up in Iraq, daisy chained IED, dealt with migraines since then, my entire career, 20 years plus years of migraines, memory issues, all the kind of the standard stuff. Always just kept it to myself. One, I was afraid that was going to negatively affect my career. On and off different types of medications the entire time. One doctor will give you one on well, once you have a migraine, take this, or take this just in case you have a migraine, or this one's if you think you're going to have it, take it 5 minutes before the onset of the migraine. And it was just, so again, 20 plus years of dealing with this. And so me and my son started kind of our hyperbaric journey together, doing dives, and both of us saw huge improvements. My son has dystonic cerebral palsy. So like sitting in his wheelchair before, if you would have taken his chest harness off, he would have just like slumped over, not having the muscular tone in his trunk to be able to hold himself up. Now he gets pissed off if you put his chest harness on. He holds himself up. He moves around. He wiggles. Awesome. He wants to move constantly. He's still nonverbal, but we're hearing sounds that, like you can tell he's trying to communicate. He just seems more energetic than he did before. So, I mean, just a very noticeable thing. And then with me, I would say after about 10 treatments, I started noticing a significant reduction in how many migraines and headaches I was getting. By 20, probably around, this is me guesstimating, because about the 20th treatment, I didn't have any, and I haven't had a migraine since. And this has been now going on close to 3 years. I'm off all medication. Um, I've seen other improvements in other areas of my health, reduced inflammation. Like a lot of us, I was not thinking about what, well, I turned 50 next month. So, what 50-year-old Mike needed to be concerned about. I lived the first, I would say, 40 years of my life thinking I could outlift, outrun any bad life choices or a career that wasn't exactly friendly to my body. So, again, all the things that we all carry, inflammation, joints hurting all the time. I saw noticeable improvements in that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
yeah, it's so interesting. I kind of chuckle on the age because I had a spasm in my buttocks the other day that I did not realize was possible, and a muscle that I did not realize even existed, and that lasted for days, and it definitely was not fun. But it brings back the whole idea of, like, you need to stretch, like all the things that we move past, right? Who needs to stretch, man? Let's just get in and get after it. Now in life, you realize that, man, there's so many important things, and even now you spend way more time learning, which I think HBOT helps with. I mean, it's what you were talking about earlier, right? With oxygen through blood, like all of these things that you now, like, now I'm reading about, going, oh, okay, so these are things I probably should have been paying a little bit more attention to, more than anything. Okay, so go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, and just, this isn't a magic bullet. This isn't like some, fairy dust. And that's the thing, that, like, not everyone's body will heal the same.
That's right.
With that, it's this is just something that's empowering your body to heal. And that's where, I think sometimes, the clinicians, the providers, the scientists struggle with some of that, is because, outcomes might be a little bit different. Everyone, might heal a little bit different, and again, any improvement's an improvement, so, and some
Well,
of
you
it,
want choices too, right? Like, I mean, that's
well,
the part of this, is that.
well, and I think that's the important thing. Earlier you'd mentioned the bill that just passed. When we talk about alternative therapies, and I think with this one, I think I can fairly speak for just about every veteran out there, is we're tired of not being provided choices in our care.
That's right.
And so I think that's the exciting thing, is now, having, organizations like Mission Roll Call to kind of unify that voice and say, no, we do want choices. And oh, by the way, here are the choices that we want, because we've done some research, and we know these are options.
Yeah, it was interesting when I got, so it was probably like 2 years after, I got in with the American Legion, VFW, and some of the other organizations. And I remember hanging out at the local VFW, and I was talking to this guy that went to Vietnam, and I just kind of like asked him, like, hey man, if there's one word of advice, what would you give? And I remember the guy was like, he was drinking a beer, but he like turned and looked at me, and he said, the only person that's going to care about your healthcare is you. And I heard him, and I'm like, where did that come? Like, I didn't understand when he said that. Right. Yeah. And Kevin just said it. The thing I understand now from him saying that to me is, why not? Right. So everything, like, we got a lot of guys that are doing a lot of different things. Again, it's alternate types of therapy, whatever those things are. For me, it's always like, we're bred not to give up, man. Like, that's the whole thought process of who we are in the military, man, is to run and run fast. And if you hit an obstacle, you hit a problem, you problem solve. You got to figure out how to get around it. So you want to own the journey. But when you stop me from owning the journey and I don't have an ability to do that, then it's kind of like, what do I do? And I think that's a really great question. Kevin just said, you're right. It may not have the, how it's done for you and done for your same may not be the same for everybody. But then the real question is, like, is there a reason not to do it?
Well, so what they call in the medical world the contraindications, so the things that could is very the list is very small. So you might have a medical implant that can't take the pressure. It might be an older pacemaker that the battery just wasn't designed to go in there. Most modern medical implants, though, you can do that. You might have some ear or sinus issues, what they call barotrauma. And sometimes even then you just might have to, kind of heal up before doing it again. But, the risks are very small. There is some, like if you have some I think it's some types of seizures, you got to be careful in being in a pressurized environment. But other than that, it is probably about the safest medical intervention out there.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about, it's a good part. We skipped all around, and that's good. We had some great questions. So everybody's listening. Thank you guys so much for all the questions. It's been great. Looks like you got some fans too. Got Kevin here saying, great to see you, Michael. Also have Blake. It's good to see you, brother. Thank you for your continued advocacy. And then we also have Kevin said, time to make HBOT a standard of care in the VA, like chiropractic and acupuncture. So we've been bouncing around, right? And I think you got, we're kind of higher level. I want to take it down because I know you've experienced HBOT, right? Like, and this is for a normal person. I'm very much like, I appreciated your comment before we came in here where, there's two types of people, I think, well, and there may be more than that, but one that'll go and look at the research on something before they decide to go into it, or somebody who's going to want to hear the story about somebody who's been through it. I'm more on that, right? Like I want to hear from veterans or people that have actually done it to understand, is it something that I think would be beneficial to me? So my question is really for you, since you've experienced it, what does a typical treatment session feel like? What, like from the point you get there until you're done, what is that like?
Yeah. So, I mean, so my experience has been in the larger multi-place chambers. So for example, at Extavita, the clinic here in the Raleigh area, North Carolina, that facilitates the HBOT for Heroes program. It's kind of, you go in there, you check in. Well, first, I guess, before, this is a medical treatment, so you do have to have a consultation with a doctor. You do get a prescription. Yep. Crazy thought, oxygen, you have to be prescribed. And then that medical provider is going to make sure that you don't have any of the issues that could cause it. And that's why a lot of the veterans like come into our clinic because of the large chamber where claustrophobia really isn't an issue if they can fly on an airplane. So go in there, they check your vitals just to make sure your blood pressure's not too high or whatever like that. And it's really just, you go in there and you sit down, and it's a seat very similar to an airplane seat. For the oxygen delivery, you get a choice of either a mask or like a big bubble hood that goes over your head for the oxygen delivery. And you sit in there, and like, we've got these pressures, they're in a pressure protective case, and then it's powered over Ethernet, basically a tablet, and you can sit in there, watch Netflix, jump on the Googles, and it's literally, so you're in there for about an hour and a half. Within the first 10 or so minutes is when it's pressurizing. And so that's no different than going on an airplane. So that same kind of clearing your ear pressure, on a flight, that's the same thing like that you'll experience. You'll know if you're about to have a sinus cold coming up, because that might amplify it a little bit. But and then for the hour of treatment, you're literally just sitting there. Some people bring a book in, and again, I usually will sit there and Google stuff or whatever. You have to like watch watch a movie and listen, there's only a certain type of headphones that can be used in a pressurized environment like that.
Yeah.
And my hearing sucks, so they don't work very well with my ears. So I doom scroll on the Google machine and go from there. But it's sitting there. Some people will tell you that, so the oxygen is kind of titrated on. So you have 20 minutes of oxygen, 5 minutes of air, 20, and kind of like that. And that does two things really is, one, it prevents any risk of oxygen toxicity.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, and I always butcher the term, it's like hypoxic something paradox. Basically, it tricks your body into thinking it's in a hypoxic event when it comes off that pure oxygen. And it actually kind of, all that gene work that I was saying happens, it kicks it into like overdrive. So it like amps up all the healing that's going on just because your body's like, hey, this 100% oxygen is really cool. And then it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. You're at 21% oxygen. You still have more than enough.
Yeah.
And so some people says they can like smell the difference. I don't know. I can't. So literally for an hour, and then the only way it's the reason the therapy is about to end is when you kind of go through that pressure change again. And it's not much. I mean, even if you're at what they call 2 ATA or 2 times Earth's atmosphere, it's the equivalent of, I think, 33 feet of seawater. So for the scuba divers out there, that's not very deep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you talked about so that's good. So thanks for that, Mike. Kind of gives a view from yours and what you've seen. You talked a little bit about I'm going to simplify these. So let me apologize. Kind of the single chambers or individual chambers versus these kind of multi-seat chambers. I know there's a lot of folks that got claustrophobia, and we talk about, PTS and like, what are the symptoms of that, and what are things that drives, claustrophobia is one of the pieces of that. So I wonder from you, PTS, TBI, and anxiety can sometimes be accompanied with claustrophobia. How does HBOT programs help patients who have that? Like, how are they checking it? And then what are they doing to offset it?
Well, and a lot of it, kind of happens right from the get-go, that first, conversation, whether that's staff member or with the provider, and kind of talk about it. And, and that usually comes up in conversation, especially with clinics that use the monoplace, those tubes and stuff like that. But even in like the larger multiplace chamber, I mean, that's an important conversation. So, I mean, as a veteran, you definitely want to be honest with them. Like our chambers, we have the ability to get someone out if they are having an issue, but not, not all chambers kind of have that airlock to be able to do that. Now, obviously not an issue if you're in a monoplace, because they just bring the chamber up and because you're the only one in there. But again, it's just one of those things that make sure that, I always encourage veterans to bring that up if that's an issue, to just do that, because, a lot of times, it's not like, even you look at PTSD and TBI, and this is one of the issues, is because if you list out all the symptoms of both, how much of them are just intertwined? I mean, that's why we have so many misdiagnoses going on. And that's, I'm a firm believer that that's part of the issue with the suicide rates in veterans, is we have a lot of misdiagnosis going on. And because of that, a lot of mistreatment going on.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a great question here from Ben, veteran. Thank you so much for being here, Ben. Appreciate you. He's asking kind of like an estimated out-of-pocket cost. I know there's different probably variables that add to this. But from your side, Mike, what does that kind of look like for somebody who gets the approval, right? They see doc's like, hey man, this is perfect. This is exactly, you don't have any of those things that we worry about. This would be great for you to go get the treatment. What does that look like for somebody? Or maybe they do it on their own and they go through the process.
Yeah. So, I mean, so when you talk about like, so there's 14 indications or 14 kind of things that the FDA approved for reimbursement. You basically use your insurance for, and they're all the nasty stuff: crush injuries, CO2 poisoning, non-healing diabetic wounds, some nasty stuff, which begs the question of, like, if it can heal these nasty things, why does the medical community think that it won't heal these other things? But anyways, I digress. But for everything else, it's considered what they call off-label, which if you research pharmaceutical use off-label, that's very common, and the majority of pharmaceuticals are actually used off-label. No one bats an eye at that. But to answer the question, there is a wide range, and that range usually is anywhere between about $150 a session to well, if you go by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS's rate, up to about $500 and something. There's rumors that there's other clinics within hospitals that are charging into the thousands of dollars for therapies, but most places that do take cash pay patients are in the couple $100s. HBOT for Heroes negotiated a rate with the clinics they work with for a lower rate. But here, like Extavita, where I work, someone comes in, wants to pay cash, in which, other than the HBOT for Heroes, all of our patients are off-label use, so they're all cash pay. And we see the range of everything from people using hyperbarics as part of their cancer treatment protocol to longevity. Like, there's a cute couple, elderly couple that comes in, and they're just trying to keep going for as long as they can, and they use it from a longevity standpoint just to keep healthy. So you kind of see it, the full spectrum of stuff. And so for here, we're currently charging, as of today, like $175 a treatment.
Okay, and that treatment, just to make sure my mind's right, that treatment's that hour and a half ish. So I come in, and if I do the 20 sessions, or again, each person may vary on how many they do, but that gives you an idea depending.
And I always like to caveat, because when people hear and then they go to their local clinic and their local clinic tells them $500 and some dollars, well, they're probably using, again, the CMS rates. So CMS kind of sets the industry standard for insurance reimbursement. So
that's right.
Whereas what we try to do, and why our rate is so much lower, is, again, we're trying to make HBOT accessible. So Extavita, that really is, we're trying to change healthcare and in general, but also make HBOT accessible to everyone.
Yeah, no, completely understand. Diane, I see the note here. Apologize so much for your son. Basically just said that, agree that there's a lot of veterans who commit suicide and nobody seems to care. When's it going to change? My son, not a vet, but he went to seek help, and he was misdiagnosed, and he took his own life. I blame the doctors who just wanted a quick fix so they could get more patients. Yeah, hate to hear that, Diane, from our side. Diane also said, but what if you can't afford 175 for Indiana? And Diane, that's the problem with a lot of things. That's not just that's definitely not just an HBOT problem. That's just a world problem right now, just in general. And again, we talked about at the beginning, hey, the American voice is the leading portion of this, right? So this is outside of Mission Roll Call. This is just me saying for my own thing, that this is why you have local leaders and, city, county, state, all the way up to the government level. Part of what you guys can be focused on is making sure that you're getting involved at the local level. It's the one thing we've definitely learned in Mission Roll Call, for sure. We went into this with this idea that everything's the government's fault, right? And I don't mean that the bad way. It's just, it's just like, hey, man, it's got to be the government's fault, especially when you work in the government for, 20 plus years. You just, okay, that's got to be where the problem is. You start to go in, you start to look, and you start to realize, okay, wow. Yeah, the government owns a piece of this, but there's a whole bunch of people from the government all the way down to your local county that have pieces of this. So even if the government changes something, doesn't mean that locally anything's going to change. And that's really important for all of us to educate ourselves and understand it if we truly want to make an impact for other people. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and to her question though, I mean, there's a lot of nonprofits out there. You know, HBOT for Heroes is just one of many that are going out there and trying to bridge that gap to provide this therapy. And we very much, HBOT for Heroes, we very much look at this as suicide prevention. You know, a book I read a few years ago, The Body Keeps the Score, was a real big eye opener for me. And it was just, it's insane that for decades, we have known that trauma, and we as veterans don't own trauma.
That's right.
But trauma, whether it's combat trauma, sexual abuse, rape, whatever, that trauma, you know, a human having to deal with a very event that humans were not designed to respond to, actually creates physical damage primarily in the brain. It damages the nervous system of a human to go through trauma. So all of the other current therapies that are available, and I'm not knocking these other things. They're very important. They have their place. But talk therapy, all these other kind of standard protocols for treating post-traumatic stress, none of them go after the injury to the brain and healing the brain. The single only thing that I have found and I have seen that does that is hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things. So if we can throw all these modalities, these therapies, we can create social bonds, we can do all of these things. But if there is an unaddressed injury, an unaddressed wound in the brain that we haven't, and we sit here and wonder why the suicide rates of veterans, and not just veterans, suicide rates of teens. I just met with a nonprofit that works with our farmers. I had no idea that the suicide rate of farmers matches what it does veterans.
Yeah.
And they're all going the wrong direction. And we wonder why. Maybe, and again, I'm not a doctor, but maybe we're missing something here.
Well, that's the important part again of alternate, again, own your own healthcare, right? Best as possible. Know how to identify when a buddy and a friend is having something, and all of those type of things. Okay. So one of the last questions I want to ask you, Mike, and I think you're hitting on it just a little bit here. What are the biggest misconceptions that you've heard? Because you talk to a lot of folks, right? Like there's probably a lot of folks that are coming in and out that are talking about HBOT or have concerns with it, or they want to move towards it. But what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've heard?
Yeah, a lot of it, and some of the ones I would say isn't even tied to HBOT. It's something I think unfortunately is very common in the veteran community, and it's that we're such a service-driven group of people that it's like, I don't want to take this resource because someone else is in a worse way and someone else needs it more. So I'm gonna, take a step back and make sure that resource is available for that other veteran that needs it more. And I see that all the time. I see that with veterans who haven't, filed disability claims, and it's insane. I mean, because the rest of them actually dealing with HBOT, most veterans that hear about it and find an opportunity to do it, jump on it. Now, one of the misconceptions I have heard a few times, and one is the expectation of it's going to solve all their problems.
Yeah.
I actually had a buddy who was going through our program, and he was about halfway through, and he was like, I do the dives, and he's like, just like you said, like I feel a reduction in my inflammation, my arthritis isn't bad, I'm sleeping better, like all these things are happening, like my focus, my memory. He's like, but if there's like a gap, right, I don't do a treatment or something, it's like it's coming back. And so I sat down with him. I was like, okay, well, what about the rest of your life?
That's right. Yeah. What have you changed?
What about your diet?
Yeah.
And I knew the guy. I'm like, you still drinking how you used to? Like, So
Yeah.
he had all these kind of, you can't take an anti-inflammatory and then have a lifestyle full of things that just introduce inflammation into your body. I mean,
yeah,
when I shared, like kind of my health journey of as I was transitioning out of the military, I had to make a lot of hard decisions. I am healthier today, I feel, than on my almost 6 years exactly ago. But HBOT's part of that story, but I also had to clean my diet up.
yeah,
I had to stop drinking. I mean, one of the biggest things is I had to let go of sugar.
yeah.
Um, but I
Sugar.
had to take
It's
ownership of
sugar.
that stuff.
It's sugar, man. It's like that piece of, that piece of candy, man.
But that's a huge, and that is a huge inflammatory in everyone. I don't care who you are. I just happened to figure out that I was addicted to it. Like I literally had addictive tendencies to sugar.
Yeah.
Like I black out. No, not that bad, but
Well, there you go. Chief W agrees. No sugar, no thanks. So there you go. You agree. But I think, but you're hitting it, Mike. I mean, the big part of all of this is that there, I think most people want the single thing that has the single fix. And in some cases, luckily, hopefully for many, that's the point. Like, I hope that that's the single thing. Right.
But it's with all the alternatives, and I've talked to a lot of friends that have done, some of the alternative, the psychedelics and stuff like that. And same thing. Any of these kind of modalities is not like at some point we as veterans have to take ownership.
Yeah. Well, I like to say it all the time, man. If you can't take care, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't help take care of other people. Yeah. Right. So it's the same thing, that's, I know during my time in service, when you'd have somebody that was going down that dark road, I oftentimes, to jerk them back into reality, is like to tell them that, how can you take care of your brothers and sisters if you can't take care of yourself, man? And because I know that those strings are a little bit harder to pull to make somebody want to do it, because you and I both know when it's about you, it's not real until this is going to impact my family, or it's going to impact this, or then all of a sudden you'll see that, that drive they have come back, where it's like, okay, I need to figure this out. And I think most of us live that. Yeah, Mike, anything else from your side that you want to put, just talk about in general, about HBOT, the journey, or anything else for the folks that are, and if anybody has any questions, you guys can ask now, because we still got a few more minutes.
Yeah. I think, my story is just one of many veterans that have experienced, positive health benefits. I think based on our HBOT for Heroes does an annual report, kind of the impact report every year. And, the last 2 years, the data has been about the same, showing about a 58% reduction in suicidal ideations. It's insane though. One of the biggest things, there was kind of a big, it kind of pissed me off a little bit, but when I realized, like, for me, the migraines were the biggest thing. But when I realized, like, wait a minute, they're not coming back. Like, did I actually kind of heal? Like, it wasn't kind of, just a temporary thing, that I actually got some true healing. Then all of a sudden what popped into my mind was like, wait a minute, this was available the whole time. 100 years ago, there was a doctor in Cleveland, Ohio, treating the Spanish flu, all these other nasty stuff with hyperbarics, and the American Medical Association destroyed him.
Yeah.
Took his medical license away. I mean, he died. They say he died with a broken heart. I mean, they ruined this man, and he was successfully treating with hyperbarics.
That's crazy.
So it's just insane. So for me, that was like almost infuriating to be like, wait a minute, like, why post blast are we not taking service members and immediately putting them into a hyperbaric chamber? Yeah. Multiple sports teams already use hyperbaric chambers. Yeah. There's rumor that Russia used hyperbaric chambers in whatever the 80-something Olympics, and they were taking their sports players in between events and throwing them in chambers. It's all these crazies. I just saw on the news a couple months ago, I think it was the Phillies just signed with a hyperbarics company. This is not new stuff, and it's been around. And, all these rich celebrities have them in their houses and are using them. So it's just kind of crazy that, but if a veteran goes and asks the VA, hey, I heard about this hyperbaric thing, they'll get, the doctor will pull it out his little 3x5 card. The studies are inconclusive.
Yeah. Well, we got to change it. You know what I mean? Like that's the beautiful part, man. I mean, I know that's why we're here right now as we're driving.
And I do want to publicly say thank you to Mission Roll Call. Like, you guys have been a huge proponent, huge supporter, both, with Mission Roll Call University by, bringing together the veteran voice around alternative therapies. I appreciate the opportunity, to, that article you just did on me and my family, and giving me the opportunity to share my story. But it's conversations like this that really are going to make a difference. And I would challenge, all the listeners out there, like, raise your voice, even if it's something as innocent or seemingly simple as doing a Mission Roll Call survey. That's something. I mean, we took your survey results, even, here in North Carolina, talking to legislators at the General Assembly here in North Carolina. It was a great tool to where we could say, hey, listen, this is what this is what your constituents are saying, like, and demanding it. So appreciate what you guys are doing. Definitely keep it up.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it, Mike. It's why we do it, right? Each of us are just trying to do our part, man. We're thankful. Got a couple other questions, and then we're gonna try to end, I promise, with an hour. Okay, so 59 is where we'll end. Kyle, just real quick, I know you talked a little bit about this. Kyle, as anything, Kyle asked, hey, what are the common risk and side effects? I want one quick answer to that. First and foremost, talk to your medical professional, right? Somebody like that right off the bat, because they're going to have they know you, they should know what you have to help with that. But Mike, I just want to kick it over to you. Is there any common things that you're seeing?
And it's the common things. And again, it's very rare, is the barotrauma thing is where if there's an issue with the inner ear or something like that, and there's an issue with being able to regulate that pressure difference kind of thing. But even then, again, it's very rare.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we got Kevin. Good to see you, Kevin. Do you journal each of your dives and go back to see when you noticed you were getting better?
No, and I wish I had. I really wish I think I was so focused on my son when I was going through that. So I'm a bit of a data nerd. So I kind of kick myself for not doing that, because I track every other kind of metric in my life, in my health. And I wish I had done that. I mean, I will tell another kind of anecdotal story that I did. So it was last year. So I think it was before I turned 49. So I was 48 years old, and I'm very much in the age and time of my life that I'm trying to prevent old age. Yeah. So
it's coming, bro. Like you can't end it.
I know, but I'm going to give it a fighting shot. So I was in the gym, I was deadlifting, and it wasn't even that heavy a weight. I think I was just doing a warm up set. I came up and I felt it. Like pretty bad muscle strain, pulled a muscle in my back, dropped the weight. So I come into work. Well, now I work in healthcare. Now I work at a hyperbaric, clinic, and walking like I'm 80 years old. And our provider stops me and is like, hey, you can't work in healthcare walking around like that. Like, that doesn't exactly, it's not a good look. So, she's like, I want you to do a dive every day until your back stops hurting. So that was a Wednesday. So jumped in the chamber Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. By Wednesday the next week, 6 treatments. By Wednesday the next week, my back had stopped hurting. So already I'm like, wait a minute. Like, already a believer on like chronic stuff, but now an acute injury. Yeah. So I took an additional week off from lifting just to like play it safe. Yeah. Jump back. So 2 weeks off from lifting, 1 week of hyperbaric therapy, 6 sessions. I was back in the gym like nothing had ever happened. I've never healed that fast from a strained muscle in my 20s.
Crazy.
and pushing 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good antidote, man. Of
might not be able to live forever, but
yeah.
and that's what we were talking about, earlier, just about motivation of health and stuff like that. I mean, I look at it, I kind of got it easy for that from a motivational standpoint. I got Colin. So I need to be functional for as long as possible. So
no, I completely agree. I mean, it's the way that my better half got me, right? I went down the same path most of us do when we got, man. It's like, hey, party it up, man, while you can. And I just remember coming in saying, hey, you want to be able to run around with your grandkids, don't you? And I'm like, check, like, right. Like that's the checkpoint. So good. Well, Mike, thank you so much, bro. Thank you for everything that you do, man. I mean, it's so weird to me that we spent so much time together, both, back here and then overseas. And because we're so focused on the mission and what we do, that sometimes you don't stop and just like have conversations with people. And this is probably one of the first times we've just talk, right. And learned about each other in general. So I thank you, man. I appreciate you. Please tell the family best from us and that we said hello. I can't wait for you to come back, man, learn more about this adventure. And as you know, man, we support everything you guys are doing. So if you need something, just ask.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
All right, buddy. All right. We'll see you. All right, everybody. Hey, we appreciate you guys coming and hanging out today again for Mission Roll Call. For a little bit of the town hall, man. We can't do this without each one of you. You guys heard a little bit today about HBOT, the idea of what it is and all of that type of stuff. If you guys go to our actual website that you're watching this on, I think most of you, some of you may be on social. There's actually going to be, we'll put a survey up later, but really interested if you guys enjoyed this. If you guys enjoyed it, you can also reply where you are on whatever social network you are. Let us know that you enjoyed this type of educational type content. It's one of the things that we're learning with a lot of us. We want to make sure you guys understand the things. We're not pushing you towards things or any of that, but you guys are surely writing in and telling us the stuff that you want to hear about. And of course, we take your guidance when it comes to the things that we're doing legislatively and from an advocacy perspective as an organization. So as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your service to our great nation. For those that are still serving, appreciate you guys so much. And families, thank you for letting us borrow them. We'll see you guys on the next one.